A warm welcome to Business Daily right here on Trust Television. I am Yusuf Akogu. Let's serve you the business top stories. Glad to have you back. Now we go to the stock market to give you highlights of the stock trading as it went down on Friday. Of course, it's earnings season and so many companies are turning their report, their Q3 third quarter report. Of course, Boa Cement, Airtel, all of them have turned in their report, and we're seeing the impact of that on the performance of NJX. 0.22%. It closed on Friday, and of course the year-to-date gain moderated to 36.97%. They're almost 37% there. We're actually heading there hopefully this week. The volume of trade 410.361 million, value at 9.16 billion in the deals of 6,436. The exchange hands among investors on Friday. And of course, in terms of gain, about 1.7 trillion naira were added to the market capitalization as well last week. That's a very huge gain there for the capital market. Let's look at the top gaining equities. As we saw on Friday, International Brewery recording 9.64% gain to close at 4 naira and 55 kobo. Of course, ABC Transport also gaining 8.86% to close at 86 kobo per share. And of course, Champion Brewery as well, 8.82% also gain there to close at 3 naira and 70 kobo. The top losing equities are also Tantalizer, the like of Tantalizer, down 8.89% to close at 41 kobo per share. For Prestige Assurance also closing at 8.89% negative. Cumulative a loss there to close at 41 kobo per share. Of course, Sham PLC closing at 8.18% to close at 2 naira and 2 kobo on the day. Let's look at the activity chart and see how the company traded. Of course, Fidelity Bank dominating the chart there. 61.1 million volume of that company shares were traded. Japan Gold and Ventures 47.7 million volume of shares, and of course, United Bank for Africa UBA 30.9 million volume of shares traded. How is this reflected in terms of sectorial performance? Let's look at the performance across sectors. The sectorial performance, across sectors, of course, the banking sector is down 0.82% negative. The industrial sector down 1.65% negative as well. The consumer good index, the consumer goods, down 0.37%. The oil and gas has remained dormant for a couple of weeks right now. Not much activities in that sector. A lot of uncertainty in that segment of the market. The insurance sector, 0.26% on Friday. It lost. Let's look at the rest of Africa and see how they did on Friday. Joburg closed a strong 0.60%, apparently racing against Nigeria, which is almost catching up with them in terms of of the share index there. In Ghana, 0.19%, it gained as well. But in Nairobi, that market has remained on a decline for almost 3 weeks running. The bearish run, continue in Nairobi Stock Exchange. These are the highlights of the stock trading as it went down on Friday. As usual, the market is on right now across various markets on the continent. And of course, we'll give you all the update you need to know right here on Business Daily. But right now, we're going to go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the issues in the power sector, especially as regards to metering. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we go into our discussion. Now, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has told Nigerians that they should update their prepaid meters, but in fact, before the end of this month to avoid being disconnected from light. What does it really mean? Why are NERC telling us to, update the meter that we're actually using right now? Let's get to know, to find out from my guest is Atiku Tambuwal, former Acting MD of TCN and board member AEDC. Glad to have you on Business Daily.
Thank you.
All right. What does NERC mean by telling consumers to update their prepaid meters?
Well, these prepaid meters are guided by specific STS protocol. That is, all prepaid meters worldwide conform with this particular protocol. So all meters that have been produced earlier, they need to be updated to conform with the most current and up-to-date meters available worldwide. As you know, these meters, we started them way back in 2007 or so. That's when it became very popular with NEPA then. So those meters normally stays for 15, 20 years, in which case you need to upgrade. So even those that were installed after that, you need to upgrade. So that's why you need to go and obtain specific codes from the distribution company, which will input into the meter to make it updated or validated to be able to conform with the STS protocol. So there isn't anything about it. It's not going to change the configuration of the meter. It's not going to change anything. It's just to make the meters conform with the new STS protocol.
Okay, for Nigerians that are watching right now, what are the procedures, what are the processes for them to update their meter? Because we were told that at the end of this month, the old meters will no longer be working.
Yeah, they will work, but they will not bend. You cannot be able to go and buy your units and it accepts. So what it involves is that you as a consumer or customer should approach the distribution company, so that the distribution company will issue with these codes, which you will now input into your meter just the same manner you input your credit when you buy. So the meter will automatically update itself and then it will allow you to put in any credit you buy thereafter.
Okay, this procedure, don't you think is a little bit cumbersome if we need to approach the discos to get this code that you talked about? Is there no way this can be done online?
Well, for now, I think that's the normal procedure for them. There could be ways of them to do it online, but for now, they have not come up with that strategy yet. We hope they will do that before the expiration of the deadline, that is end of the month. But it is better just to go and, because normally you have your office or utility or AEDC, for example, office is close to you. Just walk in there and get the codes.
If you look at the number of people that will have to update their meters, it's quite a lot. You know, in Nigerians, the way we behave, we wait till the last minute before we get things done. Do you think, with the number of people that the discos will have to attend to, do you think we'll be able to beat up this deadline?
I hope so, but as you said, I agree with you. It is really in our character that nobody does anything until at the last minute. So you see people rushing. That's why this thing has been announced, I think, close to 6 months ago. But people really do not care much. But I think I agree with you that the distribution companies should do something to ensure that this kind of issue does not arise, the last minute rush. So online is a strategy which I think they should look at means of doing it.
Okay, let's look at the implication of this now for those that fail to update their prepaid meters. What is the implication?
Like I said earlier, the implication is that when that time comes, the meter will not accept any credit. Even if you buy, you bend, you'll not be able to get it accepted. So I think that in order to avoid that situation, it is better for customers to quickly go and do it. But you can still bend, provided after the expiration, you rushed and get yourself that code. So it is better to do it before that happens.
Okay, so now, if let's assume now for those that fail to do it, would they still be able to have access to electricity?
As long as you still have credit in your meters, you will have access. But I'm afraid if you exhausted what is there, you have to buy. And in so doing, even if you buy, for it to the meter to accept, you have to get those codes to validate the meter. Okay,
some are actually saying that is it the right thing to do at this time? Because right now we have a whole lot of issues in the power sector. Is it about updating prepaid meter that should be a major concern to NERC now at this point?
Well, like I said earlier, it is not about Nigeria. It is a global thing. It is worldwide. Any country that uses this prepaid meter must update it. It has to be validated. So the timing is just coincidental. It's not for Nigeria alone. So I think it's a global thing which everybody has to comply with.
Okay, let's agree it's a global thing now. It's where Nigerian, we have to comply with. Let's look at the people we're competing with, for example, the likes of South Africa, Ghana, maybe the United States, since it's a global thing like you say. But in these countries, they enjoy uninterrupted power supply, but we don't enjoy that here.
Well, as you said, each country has its own peculiarities, has its own potentials. Nigeria will have the potentials to have uninterrupted power supply, but as we are saying, there are a lot of issues that are preventing it. In some other countries, they have overcome those issues and they are having 24-hour supply. So we hope by the time we get to that level, we should also be having 24-hour supply.
All right, we hope so. Let's also look at these meters. We have some that are actually imported and some were actually produced locally. Are they on the same, are they now or in the same category? That, like, let's say if you import from China or from the United States, for example, compared to the one that we produce locally, are we going to apply the same principle to, update these to update them together?
Yes, I think it is the same thing, whether it is produced locally or it is imported. like I said, is the STS protocol, which is a worldwide thing. So as a local manufacturer of the meter, before you are even given the license to produce, you should be able to obtain that STS code for your own meter. So that will now enable you to bend in the normal way for prepaid meters as obtained globally everywhere. So it doesn't matter whether the meter is Nigerian made or imported, that applies.
All right. Some have alleged that this new update is linked to estimated billing. That if you update it, in other words, whether you consume light or not, whether you have light or not, as long as you have this new updated meter, the discos will continue to charge you. How true is that? A lot of people have expressed that fear.
I think that is utterly false. It is not true. Distribution companies have been trying to sensitize customers that this has nothing to do with the way your meter operates. It will not increase the speed or reduce the speed or in any way. And it is not about estimated billing. It is just for the meter to conform with the STS guideline. That is just that.
Okay. So now talking about conforming with this STS guideline, now let's look at the dates now that they have given. Can you tell us more to Nigerians that are watching right now that will want to, understand what is happening in that regard, when and how to update their meters?
Well, what is to be done is actually to sensitize. The distribution companies need to do more to sensitize the customers of the need to go and update before that time, in order to avoid inconveniences that may arise when you do not. So my advice is for anybody who uses this prepaid meter to go and obtain those codes. Somebody told me that when he approached his utility, that he was told the meter is recently procured and installed, so he doesn't need that code. I'm yet to confirm that, but if that is so, which means there could be some categories of meters which have been validated or updated from the production if it is most recent. Okay. But that does not mean that you should just assume. So just go to the distribution company, obtain those codes, even if you think your meter is new.
Okay, so what you're telling us is that for those that are buying new meters to install now, so this STS code has already been installed into some of the new meters.
Yes, some
okay,
of
it is the old one now.
Yes,
that are already in use that will need to be updated.
Exactly. Some of the most current meters which have been procured and installed, that are already STS compliant.
Okay, so give us the timeline now to update this thing. The timeline by NERC to update
well,
this
as
meter.
You said, you have already said it by the end
now
of this month.
Now let the audience hear from you.
By the end of November, that is expected to be the cut-off date.
Okay, so between now and 30th of November. Okay, so if you are a consumer and you've not updated your meter until by November 30th, by the time the unit that you have on it is gone,
you risk the non-acceptance of the credit, even if you buy.
So at that point, what would you do? Do you need to go and get a new meter? Or there's a way the old one can still be reconfigured?
No. Even after 21st November, or 30th November, your meter is still valid, is still okay. If you have credit inside, it will still work. And even if you come on in December or January or any time that your credit exhausted, you have to get that code to validate the meter. Thereafter, it will accept any new credit.
Okay, so after the 30th of November, one can still get the STS code and validate the meter.
Exactly.
All right. Now, let's look at Nigerians now. There are a whole lot of lazy Nigerians who may not want to, go through this process. Some of them may be thinking of how to bypass the meter. What advice do you have for them?
Well, my advice is that everybody should be patriotic enough to go and get these codes and update the meter, because after which it has stopped accepting credit. It's not a reason for you to bypass the meter or do anything illegal. So whatever penalty that the distribution company imposes, you will have to face it if you are caught bypassing or in any illegal act on the meter.
Okay, what are the penalties if one bypass meter?
With the penalty is that you'll be charged. One, the distribution company is at liberty to go and assess to know how long, because they have the record of your bending, they know your pattern of consumption, so they know averagely what you consume, and they can know from their computer there that you have stopped buying from so time, and then they can now walk back and charge you loss of revenue for that period. And the penalty for tampering with the meter is fixed. It can reach 500,000 naira up to.
That's quite a whole lot. Now let's also look at some Nigerians now. You know, this metering, when it was actually introduced, it was meant to be given out free to a lot of Nigerians, but at some point I think the government and of course all the agencies that were actually contracted were unable to meet up with that demand. Now Nigerians will now have to buy the meter for themselves. So what is the implication of all of this? For example, if I buy a meter for myself, is it mine? Is it my own property? Has it become my property, or is it the property of the discos?
Yeah, ideally a meter is supposed to be procured, installed by the distribution company, and it becomes its own property, not a customer's property. So in the event that they could not install it for you as it should be, and you are asked to buy, like what is happening now, we have special schemes like the meter asset providers who procure the meters, private entity. They liaise with the distribution company and they are given areas to go and meter. So for you to access that meter, you have to go online and fill in the form, make the payment, and then it will be attached. You'll be attached to a meter asset provider who is covering your area. So that meter asset provider will now go and install the meter for you and get the distribution company informed accordingly so that you get registered. But then the order of NERC says that if you buy, you should be compensated in terms of credit over a period of time. And a lot of distribution companies have actually started implementing this order.
Okay, so what mode of compensation do I enjoy if I buy a meter, which is supposed to be the property of discos? If I purchase it with my own money, what mode of compensation will I get with the discos?
The only compensation is repayment of the amount you have spent. If you buy a 3-piece meter, which I think goes for about 184,000 now, that will be converted into credit, and periodically, when you go to bend or monthly, the distribution company will now credit you with certain amount, for example, 2,000 or 3,000, depending. And for a period not exceeding 36 months, that is approved period, you should be able to be paid fully on the cost of the meter using the energy credit. In
the event I don't get this compensation, what happens?
Then you can approach NERC. NERC is the regulator. They have forum. They have where they listen to customers' complaint. You can go and lodge your complaint, and the distribution company will be asked to explain why they have not really compensated you.
There's no way that if you buy a meter and then you have to repay back, the distribution company can actually convert that money, the whole of the money at once, into a credit for you, so that you can use as long as the credit got finished before you can actually,
No, it's not possible, because what it means is that the distribution company will be denied of energy payments for that month. Each month you have to account for energy that you have taken, and it is what you and me pay that will go back to the system to pay for generation and other stakeholders in the power sector. So if now for that month you have already given out that 180, it means that person can spend up to 6 months without paying anything to the distribution company, and it's not going to be good for energy accountability and audit.
Okay, no, let me take you up on that. If for example, if I have a meter and I'm buoyant enough to load my meter or buy a unit that can last me 3 to 6 months, I mean, is there any law stopping me from doing that?
No. That one, you have taken the money out specifically for payment of this energy. It's not that the money was paid for an asset such as meter. You understand? So that one is a welcome development. Every distribution company will welcome bulk purchase of power from customers because they are sure that that person has already paid for it in advance. That is the essence of the prepaid meter anyway.
All right, just as we wrap up now, I just want to ask you this question. Last week, the House of Reps summoned the discourse and others over 321 million, 18.2 billion electricity projects that, according to them, there are some issues around it that need to be explained. As the former TCN managing director, what do you have to say about that?
Well, what really happened was NERC and power sector stakeholders in the value chain look at the issue of lack of adequate capacity on the part of transmission to evacuate power to the distribution companies. And the distribution companies complained. The TCN said it is not in a position to go outside its own budgetary provision of what it's supposed to be doing.
All right.
So NERC said, okay, if CBN gives out money for this course, or rather to CCN to buy these transformers and upgrade the lines,
all right.
How do we pay back? And by law, TCN cannot take loan from CBN. It's government to government. So that's why the distribution company, being private, were asked to come and take the loan so that they can repay from the payment of their electricity bill or willing charges to TCN. So that's why
all right, I think this is the topic we need to explore for another day. I must thank you, Atiku Tambuwal, former acting MD of TCN and board member of AEDC. I must thank you for your time. All right, with that, it's a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.